Can we talk for a second about what the fallout from the Zubimendi transfer to Arsenal will be? Because I think a lot of people are taking it as a negative. Yes, I probably believe that missing out on your number one summer transfer is broadly a negative. But I also think that Liverpool have changed their expectations and a lot of what they want from that midfield since. And I think a lot of us are going from assumptions of what the Klopp team looked like as to what Slot would have and now could still play like. And my frustration comes when we don't really give Liverpool the time to move. Cleaning up some of what was the end of the Klopp era, I think was always going to take some time. You can blame FSG for some of that. You can blame them for a lack of consistency in certain areas. But I think bringing in Edwards, I think bringing in Hughes, broadly Edwards is the reason that I believe. I'm not more sceptical of Hughes, but I'm yet to be convinced, should we say, until I see some of the results of the transfer market and the contracts. I'm more convinced by Edwards. Edwards was offered some massive things down the years. He was offered like a United position, he was offered a Chelsea position, basically carte blanche at that club. Real Madrid dipped their toe in, multiple people dipped their toe in the Michael Edwards water to see what could happen here. That's huge. And he was unconvinced by almost all those things. And he left an FSG system where I think broadly he was quite happy, apart from the butting heads with Klopp or the lack of synergy with a manager that I think had proved a lot of what Edwards wanted to do with Michael Edwards. So I'm less cynical of Edwards. That doesn't mean I'm less cynical of FSG. It doesn't mean I'm less cynical of some of the moves that have happened. I still think Liverpool haven't got the depth that they need, and they will know that. They need to be competing on every front, and they will know that. But they will also know and have predicted that they will probably not be in this position at this point in the season. They knew there would be top four contenders. They knew it was a strong squad. They knew that rebuilding, they only need to go in for their big targets, which is why they only went in for Zubimendi and a couple of other guys. But I also think Liverpool have left themselves exposed, and it's not really a situation that someone like Edwards or Hughes can be blamed for. These contracts were allowed to run on. These contracts were allowed to get into a position where they could lapse. That's not their fault. And whatever contracts I think they put on the table, the players would have left to run until January anyway. And here's why, right? They're going to have gotten these other offers from PSG and Real Madrid or whoever else it is they're going to get offers from. High-profile European clubs. And Liverpool will know there'll be those people looking in, so they'll want to get them signed onto contract. And they'll know that they can increase or play Liverpool's hand against them. And that will mean that Liverpool won't know, broadly, who they can sign around that. Can they sign a midfielder if they don't know who the guy immediately behind him is? Would the midfielder sign for them if he doesn't know who he's going to be playing in front of, who he's going to be playing behind of? Liverpool have missed out on this transfer, essentially because the future of the club isn't all that clear. Zubimendi might be walking into an environment where he's got to play behind a new right winger, he's got to play in front of a new right back, and he has to play in front of a new centre back. I'm not saying that's the case, but as his agent, you would have assessed that and said, this is a transitional time for Liverpool. They might have won a title before you, but it's less sure as to whether they'll win one after you. Liverpool internally might be more sure. They might have a project that they believe they can sell any player on, and that might become very evident in one season when they make their moves, when players make their moves. But at the moment, that's not clear to these guys. And it might have left Liverpool exposed to missing out on high-profile transfers. But new players come through all the time. New profiles come through all the time. We didn't know, back when we were trying to sign Zubimendi, what a gratifying player someone like Gravenberch was going to be. We didn't know how Alexis McAllister would play. We knew Alexis McAllister was playing and capable of playing that pivot, but we didn't know if that was the long-term fix with saying that we'd gone in for Zubimendi. The same goes for Zobosai. I think a lot of people thought, well, would he play as a 6 or part of the double pivot? He's played as a 10 or an 8, a progressive 8, and has relieved the pivot a lot, has played as part of a double pivot system, but not broadly been part of that double pivot. And I think Slot, Edwards, Hughes have all been given the time to reprofile these players, see who fits and see who doesn't, and they've not really had their hand forced by any player to have to go in for them or not, because of the quality of the squad that Liverpool have played. That puts Liverpool in a very good position now. 12 months down the line, when contracts for Konate, high-profile contracts still aren't signed, I'll feel different. But right now, I still feel that Liverpool's position is relatively strong from a negotiating and from an on-field position. What we don't want to do is undermine that in the long term and have players going, oh, well, actually, if they can't get these transfers, if they can't lock these players in, Trent might be looking at that and going, well, we didn't lock Zubimendi in, we didn't lock a striker in, we're looking at Darwin leaving, a player that I think Trent will probably have wanted to leave anyway if he was going to re-sign his contract. Because if I'm a high-profile player, am I really thinking that I want Darwin to be the guy that I want to be able to supply? You know, if I'm looking to win a Ballon d'Or, am I really looking at a player who can not ruin a lot of my assists, but essentially nullify them in the next 24 months? No. Do I want to see where the club progress in the next year or so? Yes. But for that reason, am I surprised that someone like Zubimendi hasn't signed? No. I think Liverpool, Arsenal, City, to a lot of outside entities, bodies, broadly appear very similar. And so they're going to be looking for commonalities. One of them was a Basque manager. The same would have gone probably for Pep Guardiola. And that's going to be a big convincing factor, right? Having things that you're used to, especially if you're a player who's very unsure of leaving home in the first place, you're going to want things that feel familiar. Fair enough. Arne Slot's not that. Liverpool don't broadly have a lot of other players who would cross over or mesh with him culturally, even though they've got a lot of South American influence in there. And I would say it's still a compelling project. But it doesn't mean that missing out completely renders Liverpool as a lack of a compelling project or someone that's not worth investing in at all. They will have had other transfer targets. They will still have other transfer targets. And maybe some of those will have shifted now that Gravenberch has come through. McAllister has shown he can play as part of a double pivot, even though I believe in the long term he will probably be moved on. What is it that means for Liverpool? It means that they will be looking at, well, we need another right back, well, we need another left back. Two players, by the way, that Zubimendi will have been looking at and saying, I want to try play with X, Y, Z. Like, you know, Arsenal have those much more in place than Liverpool do at this point with Calafiori. Zubimendi can unlock so much more from Calafiori. And the other way for Trent, like, is he leaving? Is he staying? Be two players he's hugely involved with. He wants to know those profiles, and Arsenal have those locked down a lot better than Liverpool do, and a lot better than City do. Those things are paying off, and it's because of timeline. It's because of just timing, really. Yeah, I can't really put it any other way. It seems very crass, but it's true. So missing out, sure, but I think Liverpool have other fish to fry, and I think that is fair enough in the immediate future. It'll be very interesting to see how Liverpool manage this summer, because I think if we see Trent, Salah, two of the three leave, we'll probably see other players going, do I really believe in this project? Have I had my time here? Especially if they've won a Premier League, they'll sort of go, well, I could leave on a high here. I could leave, you know, on a wave of good sentiment towards me after having won something. Could that take the legs out from a Slot project? Possibly. But could it also fuel a Slot rebuild where he gets the profile of players that he wants? Yes. And I think at the moment our assumption is that because the team has played well so far, these players all fit Slot's profile. And I don't necessarily think that's true. Sometimes a lack of communication means that people fill in that void with what they want to see. That's happening to an extent here. I'm assuming some of what my position is and what Liverpool's position is. But I'd love to know what your position is on that. It's about storytelling. It's about fitting those dots together. And I don't think Liverpool are left as threadbare and terrible as you seem to think, or as some other people are assuming, by not getting Zubimendi. Yes, of course, it's disappointing to miss out on a high-profile player. Yes, I would have probably loved to see him. But let's be honest, until he became someone that seemed evidence to who Liverpool wanted, was anyone linking Martin Zubimendi with Liverpool? No. So will there be another Zubimendi style link for Liverpool next summer, this January? Multiple windows into the future? Yes. And that is where I'm really focused, especially as a Liverpool fan. And on match day, I think we'll see the way that our double pivot plays. One thing I would say I'm kind of disappointed at missing out on, I think Liverpool are very susceptible tactically to people slipping in between the midfield and the centre-backs. And I think Zubimendi would have reduced that a little bit because of his reading of the game, because of his shielding. And that's what Slot will have wanted. We don't still have that right now. As busy as our midfield is, they're very busy downfield. I think Zubimendi is focused up, like kind of deep in the play for us. And that would relieve some of the players who I think are more suited to playing more downfield. Even like Gravenberch, even though he's very good at coming from deep and moving down, he's ball progression rather than a deep lying playmaker. And that's what Zubimendi is, to me. And I think that is what we would have lacked. It's going to be very difficult to fill that profile because £51 million for a midfielder is very difficult. And Pep wanted him, Arteta wanted him, Slot wanted him. It's basically the three best managers in the Premier League right now, or at least going into next season along with Maresca and everyone else. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think he would have solved some idiosyncrasies and tricky things that Liverpool really wanted to solve and haven't been able to solve this season and have left them at times exposed. But a lot of this is working on assumption that we still wanted him. And I think with Marmoush, Zubimendi and a couple of other guys, we'll find that we tested the waters and maybe in the long run they weren't our guys. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know and I will see you guys this evening for a match review. Much love. Bye.